to Newsline Live. We're broadcasting, as we almost always do, from the Newsfirst studios in Dorset Street in Colombo. And my next guest is will be commenting around some very important matters that are coming up in the near future. The Ides of March are almost upon us, and we have that matter at the United Nations to resolve. Then we've got a big day for Christians all over the world, and it's also in Sri Lanka. Christmas is upon us nearly, and the Easter bombings are far from being resolved. And there are various other issues, including the attack at the or the commotion at the Mahara prison, and they're all interlinked in some shape or form to the PR image of Sri Lanka and other things too. So my next guest is qualified to comment on these figures, on these matters, and he's right here with me, Mr. Maitri Gunratna. Very good evening to you, Maitri.
Good evening, Faraz.
And thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for the invitation. I must say that you're appropriately dressed for the Christmas season, from
yes,
head to toe.
I thought
you can pass off as Santa Claus.
Thank you very much. Well, you know, I'm very proudly wearing my Capital Maharaja Group tie.
Okay.
And hopefully the secretary will consider me worthy enough to give me another one.
Okay.
Whichever the color is. Now then, the Ides of March are nearly on us, and I'm talking about the United Nations meeting, which is coming up in March. It's not like Sri Lanka doesn't have its work cut out anyway.
Correct.
And now the events at Mahara prison is another matter that we are going to have to contend with, because the international community will be aghast that whilst within state custody, remand prisoners have lost their life. We had one minister say that they didn't die of the shooting, but perhaps then my question to you is, I know that the report is out, but my question to you is, Maitri, did they die of combustion, instantaneous, you know, you have instant unexplained combustion. So
No.
did they suddenly start bleeding to death?
No, no way, no way. For us, the main reason is all our prisons are packed to capacity. They are bursting at their seams, because our prisons can only accommodate about 10 to 11,000 prisoners.
Right.
And I'm told there are about 30 to 32,000 prisoners in them,
In the system.
in the system. So for us, especially when there is a pandemic in the world, and everyone, I mean, whether you are a prisoner or not,
Yeah.
you have the right to life.
Yes.
You have to have the right to life. So when there are when it's overloaded by 200%,
Yeah.
I mean, naturally people are going to rebel and revolt.
And then when you have the pandemic,
It's worse.
The fears.
It becomes,
Yeah.
because if you take the clusters, now they talk of the Minuangoda cluster, they talk of the Palyagoda cluster, they talk of the prison cluster, they talk of the police cluster. I mean, now it has gone from one cluster to the other.
Are they in some form of denial, do you think, that this is actually now in community spread?
They are denying it that it's in community spread with regard to COVID, but we need to take the prisons for us. Clearly it is the prisoners who have revolted against this, and they are not taking any action for it. So as a result of that, when they broke open, or when they came out and they started protesting, it's a simple case of opening fire and somehow quelling the situation. This is not the first time this has happened.
No, unfortunately it happened at Velikada as well.
Yeah, it has happened at Velikada. So now, having happened in Velikada, those perpetrators were not brought to justice. So they thought, okay, if there was no problem there, then there's not going to be a problem here. And now 20th Amendment has been passed. The laws are in place for them to do anything they want. So, okay, this is the net result of all that for us.
That is, it is you laying it at the doorstep of the 20th Amendment?
No, because for us, with that you have given absolute powers to the executive, and anyone is free to quell this, because they want somehow the situation under control. So this is the danger, and this is what we fought against, of concentrating this power again on one person. And it not only that for us, it is a cancer. It spreads. Now once the power has been concentrated upon one person, even the judiciary or government departments, the whole network is now very scared to work. I mean, if you talk now today, if I talk to someone and if I are talking something political or something sensitive, I mean, they are saying, please don't talk on the phone, you don't know whether our phones are tapped.
Yeah.
So there is a fear psychosis which has slowly crept into the society right now. So this was not there. I mean, during the Apal, not that it was the best rule. But one thing you must say, everyone will have to admit, that there was enough freedom of speech was abused at that time. But today it is sad to say that even the media is scared to carry articles against the government. So that is the amount of fear they have against this government.
They're indulging in a lot of self-censorship.
Definitely. No,
I'm talking about everybody else accepting Newsfirst.
For us,
Yeah.
when you arrest the social media people,
Yeah.
just for sharing a post,
Yeah.
or putting a post into the Facebook or whatever,
Yeah.
uploading a post,
Yeah.
when you arrest them, when you remand them, when they are in remand custody for 2-3 weeks, 1 month, I mean, what is the message you are sending to the media? Now I remember there was a gentleman by the name of Chaturanga.
Yeah.
He was remanded. There was hardly anyone who came to even appear for him. I appeared, and with my chamber I appeared and got him bail. I mean, ultimately they had no one.
Yeah.
They had no one. So who is the journalist? Who is the journalist who is going to take that risk? Who is the journalist who is going to take that risk? So for us, the fear psychosis has been bought in, and I feel the media is now playing it extremely safe. Extremely safe.
That's because they all have other vested interests.
No, there are people with vested interest. There are people, I mean, even without connections with the government, they don't want to get into legal battles. They don't want to get into any kind of closure. They don't want to get their license cancelled. So all those are matters which are playing in their minds.
Yeah.
So therefore, for us, this fear psychosis has got into the full fabric of society.
Now then, whilst we're saying that, and I said about the Ides of March are nearly upon us, but then we also mentioned Christmas is nearly here, and the Easter bombings is far from anywhere close to closure. The Cardinal is obviously an unhappy man at the moment. Why is it taking so long, for heaven's sake? It appears to me that there is no urgency. When this government was in opposition, they made a song and a dance and a meal and everything else, thanks to the exposés of Newsfirst in terms of the bond scam.
Yes.
You know, we spent a lot of money and time and effort to back what we are good at doing, representing the people's interests. And they were happy to join in that whole exercise. But now that they have power in their hands, we have a lame excuse that they can't serve notice on Arjuna Mahendran. In Sri Lanka, if they can't serve notice at the last known address, they'll stick an advertisement in the newspaper. And the Singapore Times is, or the Straits Times is pretty well read. They can always put an advertisement in there. But where's the commitment? Why is it taking so long to address the Easter bombings?
No, for us, in fairness, there is a commission of inquiry which has been appointed.
So did the Bond Maitri Gunratna.
Yeah, correct. But the commission of inquiry with regard to the Easter bombings, if I am right, I think by the 20th of this month, they have to finalize and give their report.
Yeah.
So that has taken about 1 year for us, and there is so many witnesses who have come and given evidence.
Yeah.
And there are maybe 4,000 to 5,000 documents which have been marked in that whole exercise.
Yeah.
So I feel the Easter Saturday Bombing Commission report will be out maybe by the end of this month or early next month.
Yeah.
And that will be done with. But with regard to the bond scam for us, I feel it's a case of you scratch my back, I scratch yours.
Really?
Yes, because the bond scam now, for instance, the former Prime Minister, Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, was involved. It was under his leadership. He's the person who appointed this Arjuna Mahendran as the Governor General of the Governor of the Treasury.
Yes, but he'll say if you said that to him, he'll say no, I wasn't. I recommended, and the President was the appointing authority.
No, but it is his recommendation, and the other thing is for us, when the first scam took place,
yeah,
President Sirisena insisted that he be removed, or if he cannot be removed, for him to be sent on compulsory leave and for an inquiry to be held. Even that was not allowed by the former Prime Minister. That he objected to that.
Yeah.
So, in fairness,
yes, that was all bad then, but what about now?
yeah. So my taking is for us that Mr. Wickremesinghe, during the Yapalana government, he took upon all the investigations of the previous regime. He took it upon himself, and they created this what do you call this special investigation unit,
The FCID.
And it functioned under the guidance of Temple Trees.
Well, it did, because there was a committee seated there.
And then what did they do? They tried to fix various matters, because I'm telling you, for us, whether there was evidence or not, if they wanted to fix someone, they went out to fix that person. And if you notice, most of the cases which are being heard, and now people are the verdicts, they are being discharged,
Yeah.
for the want of evidence.
Yeah.
So I am telling this with responsibility. The cases which were filed
Yeah.
were filed without proper evidence. It was for political arm twisting which was
Right.
done. They didn't file it on proper evidence.
Yeah.
So therefore, I mean, I am not surprised that they are being discharged from proceedings.
Yeah.
Because when you one or two cases I have seen, there is hardly any evidence against them. Now, for instance, the case against Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, the president presently,
Yeah.
with regard to the monument which they built in Tangol.
Yeah.
Now that case, I mean, there was no case. Why? Because the money which has been spent, they returned the money. And then thereafter, the UD has sent a letter of demand for the balance.
Right.
So if you have sent a letter of demand for the balance, then it doesn't tantamount to be a criminal case. It's a civil matter.
Right.
Then I think even Mr. Johnston Fernando's case, where he was discharged, it is similar circumstances. So what happened was, under the Yapalana regime, the former Prime Minister took the thing under his control, and then they started, trying to do horse deals. That's why that whole process was an absolute failure.
And on that note, we'll go for a short break and come back and pose a few more questions to Mr. Maitri Gunratna. including the fallout or the repercussions of the death sentences being reduced, being commuted to 20 years in prison. Don't go away. After all, this is Newsline Live.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
Welcome back to Newsline Live. We're in conversation with Mr. Maitri Gunratna. Mr. Gunratna, the big news really is the announcement that death sentences will be commuted to 20 years in prison. What effect does this have?
For us, what happens is, if it's committed to 20 years, anyone who is sentenced to death gets 20 years, but due to good behavior, there is a certain amount of days per year which is reduced from the sentence.
Right.
So if I recall correct, when you have to serve a sentence of 20 years, if there has been good behavior right throughout, it comes down to about 16 years.
You get about 4 years.
You get about 4 years. So 16 years you're out. Now, I must say, because I have been in remand myself, because of during the UNP fracas and all that.
Yeah.
And when we were in this parole was not in operation, and I don't think it is in operation even now.
Okay.
So as a result of that, for us, I mean, prisoners who could be sent out for good behavior and who have served a long term are not sent out, and that's why this accumulation of prisoners are taking place in the prisons, and they are bursting at their seams. So basically, there won't be people put into prison for all their lives. It will be 20 years and a little less because of this parole coming into operation.
So, in short, there won't be any death sentence?
No. And for us, it is dangerous to have death sentence with such a corrupt police force and investigation system.
I was about to agree with you.
And even the miscarriage of justice which can take place.
Yes, at least this way you can correct it, but the death sentence is it's final.
It's final, and if you implement it with the corrupt investigation system, the police, and then I would say our judiciary, there are so many instances where there has been serious miscarriage of justice.
But don't you think that this is many things in Sri Lanka are kind of lopsided? On the one side, we present ourselves as a Buddhist country, which obviously we are, right? No one's doubting that. I'm not going to do a mangala and say that we're not and all that business. We are. And
for us, we are not practicing Buddhism for us.
No, but that's the whole problem.
We were a board, a name board that we are Buddhists, but we don't practice.
Because in any case, if we are a nation leaning and respecting religion and so on, of all religions,
yes,
then there can't be any space for, to begin with, taking off life, the death penalty. We can't have that. If we want to lead a righteous and virtuous, morally right society, then you can't be having certain aspects of tourism in this country.
No, so for us, you have, no, one thing is, for us, Buddhism does not debar you from wanting to do what you want to do.
No. But if you do, you have to live with the consequences.
You have to live with the consequences.
Right.
So vis-a-vis that, for every action there is a reaction. That's a theory it works on.
Right.
So you can do whatever you want, but it has to be done in moderation. Now, for instance, for us, I'll tell you a good example. When I was functioning as governor in the central province, I wanted to start this toddy tapping, because toddy is the Kitul Penny and the Kitul Hakuru is a very, very fine product of Sri Lanka, and we can get a very good market for it. So before I did it, I went and met the Mahanayakas. The Venerable Mahanayakas, and I said, well, I'm going to start this. I want your blessings. And whether there's any objections, because otherwise it can fall a copper. When I went to the Malvatta, Venerable Malvatta, the priest in the Malvatta temple, the head priest, he said, Mahatmaya, Buddhahamdurunge kale tratibuna, eka ape game arthikaya shaktimat karana vadak. It strengthens the rural economy.
Right.
So you better go ahead. We have no problem. So what I'm saying is, for us, it's a religion which cultivates live and let live policy. So you have to work carefully within the parameters of whatever the religion has.
But don't you think that when it's a year now, and however unfortunate the pandemic is and so on, and has been, and we all understand that, but within that, isn't there isn't there a general feeling that the rule of law is not being exercised properly?
For us, with the 20th Amendment coming into force, that affects every functioning body in this country. So that is the very reason. That is the very reason we were totally opposed to this 20th Amendment. Unfortunately, the people of this country gave them the 2/3.
Yes.
And I blame the Muslim MPs.
Yeah.
I mean, Muslim MPs who crossed over to give them this 2/3. And as a result, otherwise they didn't have 2/3.
Yeah.
This government didn't have the 2/3. These 5 or 6 guys went and gave them the 2/3. And that is the price we are paying now, where there is going to be no rule of law.
Indeed. I hear everything that you say, but I also say to you that when we look at our judicial system,
Yes.
right, there is this maxim that one of these maxims is that the other side must be heard. Another point, another maxim is that you must turn up in court with clean hands.
Yes.
And another one is that you must deal and declare all facts, so in good faith.
Yes.
So if you miss one of these, where is the goodness in the law?
No, for us, they can. I mean, you can suppress material.
Right.
It is possible.
Right.
So if someone suppresses material and goes to court, then it is the duty of the other party to come and immediately show what the suppression is.
Right.
And show that they have not come in with clean hands.
Right.
So that
And
can
not
happen
dealt in good faith.
And not in good faith. That can happen for us now. That can happen within the shortest possible time.
Right.
But now, for instance, there are some courthouses which have brought in their own rules and regulations.
Right.
Now, in the magistrates court, if you take,
Yeah.
there are rules where you can't file motions on a day you want or a lawyer wants.
Yeah.
You have to file a motion only when the police is there. So now these are not in the rule book.
No.
It's not in the law book.
These are just conventions.
These are not conventions. There are some courts where judges practice my court, my law.
Oh, okay.
Not the law of the country.
Right.
So these are bad practices. I hope Mr. Ali Sabri will be able to correct this, because there is a lot of people who are looking up to him, for him to come and sort out most of the problems which the legal fraternity and the legal system is facing. So he has a large duty, and I think that it was a very good thing which came in this 20th Amendment, increasing the amount of judges in the Supreme Court, increasing the amount of judges in the Court of Appeal, which are good things, because that is where cases are completely stuck and it goes on for a long time. So I of course feel now they should try to finish those cases as fast as possible and see that justice is expeditious in this country.
400 million they've spent on temporary offices at the World Trade Center.
I cannot understand why they have to go to the World Trade Center, because for us there are so many other government buildings which can be used, and at a time like this,
400 million there, untold millions at the other place, the Ministry of Agriculture, where they moved to in some
that was
tower.
during the last regime.
Yes, I know, but these lot came and they moved out.
The taxpayer has to pay this money.
Yes, it doesn't matter which government.
Yeah, the
We are paying.
we are paying for it.
Yeah.
And I can't understand what is the justification for the Justice Ministry to go to the World Trade Center. I mean, the World Trade Center should have places.
It's whilst they're building something else.
Pardon?
It's apparently whilst they're building something else.
But for us, have they got to go into such a plush and such an expensive office complex is the next question.
I'd like to know how many PCR tests can be purchased, or vaccines can be purchased for 400
Not only
million.
those ventilators. What about the ventilators?
Yeah.
So if we are going in that direction, I mean, so many people can be benefited. And the other thing is, for us now, if you take Colombo, all the workers are getting affected.
Yeah.
The closely knit communities, the workers are getting affected because their housing is in very, very small areas.
Small. So density.
And density is very thick. And maybe within 25, 30, 40, 50 square feet, there are 5, 6 people staying. Even if there is a lockdown for us, how can anyone guarantee that COVID is not going to spread under these conditions? So money like this can be spent in housing.
It's all about
housing. Now,
prioritizing.
present president during the last regime, he started building these high-rise apartments for these poor people in the shanties. So that's where we have to go.
We need to prioritize. Martin Gunaratne, thank you very much. It's now time for the primetime news from News First.
Thank you, Faraz.
And as always, take care. Have a great evening ahead of you. And as always, God bless you.